because you're going to have client complaints. It's going to happen. So you want to manage those appropriately. Again, when we talk to Reese, like a lot of ABA practices run into this where they've got one bad Google review, right? That's it. And it's because on your worst day, you talk to a client the way that you would never want to talk to the client, right? And they then wrote a Google review based on that. So how do we manage those? It's really important. So yeah, is that good? We good? You got anything more to add? Awesome. All right. Last thing, continuity of operation. So this one is super fun, right? But the way we won't get into much of this one, but
Well, so if you're
yep,
new to this whole shebang, what is continuity of operations
yep,
and like a quick
yep.
definition?
So I guess the best way I can describe this, and there's a lot of pieces to it, but the best way I can describe this, you get hit by a bus, BCBA business owner, who's paying your staff? Who's gonna come in and take over for you as far as a supervisor or for parent training assessments? Who's gonna pay your bills, right? Does anybody know how to pay your bills? Does anybody know how to do payroll? Does anybody have any of your contacts? Uh, so this is something that you need to have in place. Any kind of business really should have this in place, but this is a requirement of HIPAA, right? Is having a continuity of operation plan. So you're going to list out all your vendors, you're going to list out all of your emergency contacts, who's in charge if you're out for whatever reason, so that this your clients and your staff will still continue, like it will still continue to work as even if you're not there. So that's kind of the best way I can describe it, right? So you want to have
Like for those with education background, it's like a kind of like a subfolder for like a teacher. If you,
okay,
because like, I mean, they're much more involved than that, but the same idea, right? Like if you're a teacher, you have a subfolder
mm-hmm.
and you have it in your desk, or you probably in these days have it in some cloud or whatever you do with your school, but that you have set up ahead of time just in case you're not able to make it to work that day and you don't have like it's like emergency or something and
Right.
you don't have just plans. Like
Mm-hmm.
what do they do?
Right.
Like what do they do? How do they go about the day? What do they do? What's the most important things that they need to take care of and know how to do, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so just like a backup plan.
Right. And like, would anybody be able to access the admin of your practice management software so that they can add new clients or remove clients or add employees or things like that, right? So if no one knows how to do that, then you probably want to have somebody that, have some kind of system in place. Like everybody, like it's almost like a will, right? Nobody thinks it's going to
Right.
happen to them, but I just saw a Facebook post maybe last week where like unexpectedly the BCBA business owner was died, and like now they're scrambling to get somebody to help manage the clients and the staff. I mean, that's horrible, right? This poor person and the family, it's a tragedy. But we want to have this plan in place so that that impact is lessened to a certain degree. So you want to be thinking about this. And then the other pieces of continuity of operation is like, if there's a hurricane, like is there like you want to determine what are the most common natural disasters in your area. So is it a hurricane, earthquake, tornado, flood, whatever, and then coming up with emergency plans. Well, what if the clinic is not structurally sound? What are we going to do during the interim? Are we going to switch to home care? Are we going to do telehealth? So just having some kind of a plan, especially for, like, dude, this happens all the time, right, in our area. So having that plan in place so that you can continue to see services, your staff continue to get hours, so it doesn't just all fall apart.
Yeah. I have a funny story about that
Oh,
one.
tell me.
I don't know. I don't know. Are we removed enough from COVID times now
That's
to laugh
fine.
about
Yeah,
it?
I am at least.
Yeah. So
I'm not better.
we were working, Steven was like updating our continuity of operations, or maybe he had already done it. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to as much of that part as I probably should have back in the day. And he mentioned, I'm hearing something on the news about like possible pandemic. We need to make sure that, we check our continuity of operations, like our manual.
Yes.
And we need to look and make sure we have like
PPE. Yes.
you
Yes.
did. Like you called it
This
like
was months before the panic started.
I know. Look at you. And so we had a few. Now, did I have any clue that we would need more than 6 masks or whatever? Like, no.
We could have sold those on eBay. We had way more money.
They were like the fancy N95 masks too, or whatever, right? But anyways, and so I was on the phone with my like weekly meeting with our admin, because at this point she was like working virtually. Not COVID, but related. But and I was like, yeah, there's one more thing on the list. Steven says we have to like look at our pandemic policy. I don't know what he's like thinking, right? Like I thought you were just being like Mr. Control Freak, like stupid. Like, come on, I have so many better. Like, no, I have so much other stuff I need to work on. This stupid pandemic. What?
Right.
But I mean, Steven was prepared, and he had it in there, and we checked it, and so it wasn't a complete shock when all the things happened in March 2020. Like if the only shock I had was, does my husband know something that I don't know? Does he have connections I don't know about? But no, anyway, so like,
secret spot.
So right, so like seriously, like, and I think about that often, even more so that I'm probably coming in contact with these policies more than when I was running a company, right? Because we're looking at them in so many different ways across so many different states with so many different people. But so it just goes to show you, like, we think that we're invincible.
Yes.
We think that pandemics aren't going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
We think that, we're not in a flood zone. We're never going to get a flood, or we're not in the path of a hurricane. And then, look at that hurricane. It just took off and came in this direction for the first time in 75 years or whatever, right? And so, it's one of those things. It's best to be, you don't have to lose sleep over it, hopefully, but just have put a plan in place and be prepared, and then that way it's tucked away and you can pull it out when you need it. But,
and I mean, you could have the best laid out plan, and then 5 of your employees are like, they don't have homes anymore. They're not worrying about work, right? And so, like, okay, great, I had this plan. It's a piece of garbage, right?
You have to pivot a million times when bad things happen.
Emergencies happen, but having some kind of foundation. Okay, we do this, we do that, we do this, right? So that at least you have a starting point. Things are going to change, and you're going to have to pivot. You're going to need to be flexible, but having that in place, right? Like, even I believe part of the continuity a plan is like, having an emergency kit in the clinic, right? Like, so that people have access to water, or they have like,
which we
tools.
did. We had that. I said, we only had like enough for 1 mask per person, but like we had like specific cleaning like gloves, and we had like, what are those, like dry food packets or something? I don't know, right? So we had like a little bit of everything that we would need for like our few people that were in the office for the most of the time. But
So those are just, again, those are things that I would highly recommend having in place, and you really want to spend some time on this. And again, you may think that this is a waste of my time. I have way more important things to do. You do, but like your life will be so much easier and less stress. I'm not saying it's stress-free, but it's going to be way easier, again, to put these processes in place with your values and mission statement, and you just know it, right? It's written down. It's easy to see, and then you create that quality policy based off of those easy to understand mission statement of values, and then it just your employee processes and client processes will flow, because of course you do it this way. There's no other way you could do it. So it's just really I would just take a moment and just consider it. Again, get a mentor.
I mean, even continuity of operations. your values and your mission statement can show up there too.
Right,
You
right.
know, we didn't like stress it as much there, but it's really like your why, right? Like it's really your why and your intention, because I know we don't all live our lives the same, and we don't like, we all are driven by different things, but I know for myself, when I have an intention, and typically my intentions like come from my values, right? But they're just another step. It's like another piece for me, more tangible in the moment piece, but they all kind of match, they all match my values. But the intention for the day, or the intention for the activity, or the intention, like if I can like really check in and ground myself with what my intention is, how do I want to show up, why am I even here, then it makes choosing hard things and doing stuff that's boring or hard or that I don't want to do, it really helps them. I don't want to say easy, it doesn't make them easier, but it just gives them meaning or purpose. It just makes it okay, well, yep, this is the value, this is my value, this is my intention for the day, this is how I want to show up, this is who I want to be for my staff, this is who I want to be for my. So as much as I don't want to write the stupid procedure or tailor it to my company, here I am, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so
You have something to aim at, right? And if you don't have that, like it's very similar to a purpose,
yeah,
right?
like having meaning and purpose really can help drive you
Yes.
and help keep you running.
Yes.
Because if nothing is like, if it's like purposeless, is that a word?
Right.
Then like meaningless, like
Aimless.
you're just, it's like
Yeah. Yes. This again.
this again, right?
Yes.
And so there again, that can also go into like your quality of
Life.
life and loving your job and all
Yeah.
that
If
stuff.
you're burnt out, most of your staff probably burnt out.
Right. So if you're able to show up and like live your meaning and your purpose through jobs, doesn't mean you have to walk around whistling and being happy all day. That's not at all what it means.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. All right. Well, so now is the really super fun part where you get a sneak peek of the company policy.
So this is our company policy manual. Very similar to all our other ones. You're looking at an older version. Ha ha ha. You don't get to see the latest version. We do have disclaimers in here. Like, again, I don't know what you're doing with these things, so it is super important. While these are very comprehensive, maybe too comprehensive, but like we've had people remove things that I absolutely would not remove. If you're doing things a little differently, so maybe you have respite, speech, OT, you're going to have to add things to this. Again, these are templates for you to use as a starting point, and then you need to modify them based on your unique company needs. If you double click here, you'll get a macro. If you enable macros, and it'll ask you what's your company name, your company address, your website, your email, when did you start, all of this stuff. And it will fill out all of these placeholders for you. So that can really help speed things up. Throw in your logo wherever you would like. Get rid of all of our disclaimers once you purchase it. Make it your own. And so we have our table of contents, right? And so, hey, we said you needed a quality policy. Look at that. We have one of those. And so the introduction has your mission statement in there. We have our quality policy. What's up?
I just had this really cool thought.
What's up?
I don't know if it's cool.
Okay.
But so like if this is overwhelming,
Yeah.
like when you purchase this and you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much. The top part where you have the macros where you can like have a list of all the things that you need, like the
Yep.
dress and the billing and email, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like think of like the pre-Mac principle where like maybe that will give you some like motivation, like some like can't find my words, but the building, right? Like it's gonna like get momentum building. Yes.
Okay.
It's gonna like, okay, first step is let me just write down all these things
Sure.
that I'm gonna need to know to put into this, right? So
sure.
that could be like your momentum building for
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
as you're moving into like all of this information.
Sure.
Resume.
and so we have our introduction of how this manual works, how we control documents and control records. We have our quality policy and the statements, our quality objectives, how we do our continuous improvement processes, our continuity of operation plan is here. We have our human resources and material requests and working environment. So these are all staff, our staff processes. How are we going to make sure that this is a safe working environment for our staff? What trainings are we going to provide? How do we do workers' compensation? And, are we doing supervision assistance and tuition assistance? And then we have our client processes. And again, so all of those client processes that we just talked about. And then, we have our policy, and then we break things out into procedures. Procedures are things that need more information, more detailed things. So yeah, we say we're going to do background checks, but how do we actually do them? Do we do fingerprint checks? How do we, again, respond to a client complaint? How quickly will we respond to it? And what if they don't like our response? Again, this is 275 pages of ridiculousness, but it's here for you. Again, this is our mission statement, right? This is not your mission statement.
Just a template.
It's just a template for you to use.
You can use it to get started if it matches what you need.
Yep.
But
this is our quality policy, right? So again, this may be the starting point for you, but you're going to need to edit this based on your unique company's quality and how you make sure that you're providing quality services. And again, with the intention that we're going to make KPI based on this, right? So how do we track this in a meaningful way so that we can determine whether we're still meeting our quality policy or not? It's a template for you all to use. You're going to have to modify these things. This will not work without your input. So you're going to need to take some time and review it. But, our handbooks have been through so many audits. So passing Optum audits, Kaiser audits, Magellan audits, Medicaid audits. They've been through BHCOE accreditation. We're now working on ACQ accreditation. These things do these do come with free updates. So people that bought these back in 2017 are still getting free updates. And, you're working with, we're over 1,000 companies now. So you're working with so many ABA practices all over the country that have seen some crazy stuff. And they're like, because of the free updates, we have this huge collaboration experiment going on here. And so you're no longer just taking our word for it. You're taking, the feedback of all of these other ABA practices that will, reach out to me and say, hey, Stephen, this just happened. What do we do? And so then we take that information and we, distribute it to everybody, right? So, it's just so important as you're creating this amazing practice that you want to provide high quality, ethical, sustainable services to your clients and improve the quality of life of your staff. No one wants to have burnt out staff. No one wants to do that. No one wants to be burnt out. So I know you want to make an amazing practice. So, building out these policies is part of that, making that scalable practice that can grow, and when to grow based on your values, based on your mission statement, based on the financial sustainability of your practice, right? So this is the first part of it.
Absolutely.
All right. So
everything he said.
That's it. We're done. Yeah. Hopefully this is helpful. And we'll see you next time.
All right. See you next time.
Yeah.